All right, well, now I'm going to introduce our special guest today, Kevin Edwards. Kevin has a master's in architecture from the New Jersey Institute of Technology, and he works there as an adjunct instructor for 13 years, teaching physical model building and running the fabrication model facilities. He's got under 25 years experience working as an architect project manager, and for the last 20 years, he's been the BIM/CAD manager for the last 3 offices he's worked at. He's currently a senior project manager and BIM coordinator. And fun fact about Kevin is he is a volunteer firefighter, and he serves as the first lieutenant for the company. Thanks for joining us today, Kevin.
Pleasure to be here, John. Thank you.
So, Kevin, I wanted to ask you this. Prior to starting to use UpCodes, how did you access all the different building codes and standards and adoptions and things?
Well, I mean, over the years, it's constantly changed. I mean, before it was nothing but, books that you had to have on file and you had to constantly keep updating. Later on, over the, probably 12 years ago, 15 years ago, a lot of this stuff started going online, whether it just be a PDF that you could look at, or you had to gain access through another service, very similar to UpCodes. They were there, but they pretty rudimentary at best. And one of the bigger problems was always, just the making sure that they were up to date, if you will.
Right, no Daniel Delahanty looking updates for you. How did you guys track local amendments, for each different state and jurisdiction where you were working back in those days?
Well, you used to get notifications and you would have to filter everything into either a binder or filter it directly into the book form that you actually had in-house. Aside from that, later on, as everyone knows, we would go to the municipality that we were looking for, or the state, and we would check their website and have to go and locate it. But and a lot of times it just wasn't up to date if it was on the website, or especially if you were filing it and you were maintaining it. It's a time-consuming job, so someone has to stay on top of it. So if you needed to find an amendment, there was a very heavy chance that it was sitting on somebody's mail stack somewhere, and it never even made its way into your reference guide. So it was a little cumbersome, not having it all in one place, and especially with all the hands that it passed through, that you might never even see it.
Right. One of the things I talk with folks all around the country about is training up younger architects, junior folks, learning the codes. How did you guys introduce them or get them into the building codes under this way that you did it before UpCodes?
Before it was difficult, especially I'd say the last 7 to 10 years. The younger people have changed. Technology has come a really long way, and they were brought up in a different time. We have found that they really didn't even understand they know what a book is, but the idea of having to go and open up a book, look through a table of content, surf through, and then have another code reference you to another location to get there. They didn't want to do it. I think that there was a bit of fear with doing it. And the main thing, I think, was also time. A lot of firms are really not great at mentoring their student staff through these things because of time. It's not that they don't want to, they want them to learn. We all want them to learn and to pick it up so they can be more efficient and self-sustaining. But there's a great deal of investment. So usually it was kind of like, throw them to the wolves and let them go on certain things, let them give a pass at it and then let me review it. Most of us, though, will sit down and try to walk them through. But again, walking them through the book was kind of difficult because, again, very time consuming. You have to show them not only one book, but lot of different codes. There are tons of different codes, especially if we start going to other states. It's not, even if you're situated in one state, you still have a lot of codes you need to go through, and each one referencing another. So they get a little lost in which is the one to follow, if you will. So it was, you could get it done. They would learn. It just took a long time to do it, and a lot of time.
Right. And we millennials are typically more concerned about our avocado toast and pumpkin spice lattes more so than these code books. How would you describe the value to someone of one of these younger architects when they can pull their own weight in a project? When they do finally get to know the code and can stand on their own, what kind of value do they present to the firm once they do have that level of comfort?
Every bit of value. I mean, from top to bottom. I mean, that's what we all want. We all aspire. There was a point where I was, a little guy too, and I had no idea what I was doing, and I had to look to those above me, or I had to dig myself deep into weeds to figure out how to do these things. But once you get to that point, the value that you're going to bring to that firm is immense. Your productivity is going to go up. They can confidently put you on projects that they don't have to worry if you're going to have something, you're going to make a mistake and open up an errors of mission during the construction project. Time, you're going to be faster, so you're going to be more productive. These are all really the reasons that we want the younger side to learn everything. We have all different things that we need to learn as architects and engineers. Drafting, software, codes, design practices. I mean, there are so many different things and specialties out there, but overlying all of that are codes. And it might be one of the most important things to understand to allow you to work efficiently and accurately.
Once you brought on UpCodes, what was that process like of training the younger folks and helping them to stand on their own 2 feet?
Night and day. They took to UpCodes right away. The interface was what they were used to. It was something they understood. It made it easy for them to find other code references. So when they had a section that stated that you needed to go over here, it was right there in front of them. There's a link right there in the code that they're able to click and it goes. The other part was definitions. A lot of them really just didn't understand the definitions. So right there, UpCodes, you hover over and you're going to get the definition where you can click and go directly to it. So everything is right there in front of them. The other part is all the different codes that are there. It's easy for them to outsource. They don't have to get up from their desk, walk over and figure out what book am I supposed to be using at this point. Again, UpCodes, they're all there, but it's also instructing them if this section is referencing another code, it's going to allow them to get to that code very, very easily. They're also the keyword search. I mean, we're all now used to Google, but that's all they know. And the ability to just go in there and type a phrase, a word, and hit enter, and have all of these sections isolated for them and put directly in a Google style browser has helped them immensely. They're more eager to get in there to learn, and that they're learning it faster. But the biggest part that I would say from that UpCodes has helped with the senior staff in getting them to learn is really the diagrams that are embedded throughout UpCodes that very easily explain what the code is trying to tell you. Their codes are written in, I always say, lawyer speak or attorney speak. It's not something they teach in architecture and engineering school. It's something that you have to learn. And when you come out and you start reading this, a lot of the younger, and when I say younger, I'm not isolating the, just this generation. I'm saying across the board, it was always a very, very difficult thing for you to get used to. Once you get it, it's great. But taking those words when you're coming out of a profession that you picked is a very visual, spatial, and graphic career, you went that direction for a reason. And it's because that's how you understand things and learn things and enjoy communicating through things. So having these diagrams that take the code and put them into um, a vignette of sorts uh, really helps them understand the code right away.
That's great. Okay, you brought up kind of senior folks a little bit. Thanks for talking about how UpCodes can help with the empowering younger folks to feel comfortable with the code. What's an intimidating, disparate process is kind of brought down and simplified. I hear a lot, though, about senior folks that know the code inside and out. You know, Frank knows the code like the back of his hand. How do you see any value for those kind of folks using UpCodes as well?
Absolutely. One, again, for all the exact same reasons I just mentioned. But saying that Frank knows the code is never going to be. He may understand how to read the code, he may understand the code, but unless Frank's got a scanner built into his head with a massive hard drive with a search engine in it, he's never going to be able to remember every single change that's come through. So UpCodes is assisted with that immensely, especially with any amendments that come out. So as you're searching through and reading through your sections, it's going to flag what that was, what the changes were, and explain them to you. So we don't need to file that anymore. So that's also turned into a whole huge time-saving item, less errors that are made. The Again, the diagrams have proven also really helpful as well to them, because there are some things that come out that maybe they've just never dealt with before. They're doing a new building type, and these really help with that immensely for everyone's understanding. I think the one thing that I would have to flag is almost one of the best features, in my opinion, with UpCodes is the side-by-side comparison. So this is, I find personally, is one of the things that assists me more with anything else, that I can take, if I'm used to doing work here in Jersey, but suddenly I'm doing something in Florida, I can take the IBC and I can compare the two states side by side, and it's going to flag and highlight the differences between those codes without me really going through and having to do a page by page turn. It's going to be really easy for me to identify those. Right now, everyone is, really nervous about all the ANSI changes that are coming out, any energy changes that are coming out in the code. This is a feature as well that works not only from state to state, but I can go version to version. So I'll be able to take that IBC and I'll be able to compare this year to that year. Again, flagging all of the changes that are happening right then and there. So even if a current staff hasn't gone to a seminar, the office hasn't presented what these changes might be, right now, you'll be able to see that, depending upon, of course, Danielle, if you've been able to update us on every single area. But and she does a great job at that. That's the last thing I will add to this is it's updated constantly. I don't think I've ever found something that wasn't there that was adopted and in place. So it's in comparison to other web code formats for you to look up and assist services. I have yet to find a flaw in here. So all of those reasons are definitely extremely helpful to the senior staff.
Yeah, all right, that's great. Thanks. Yeah, good work, Danielle. So one of the things I hear a lot, Kevin, or just real quick, we're updating 2,600 sections of code each week. So that's a lot of changes and things we're tracking. One of the things I hear from time to time is, well, John, this is great, but we really only need UpCodes at the beginning of a project. You only get into the codes at a certain phase at the beginning, and then throughout the rest of the project, you don't really need to access the codes. Would you agree with that statement?
Absolutely not. Code is, for me at least, and the offices that I've worked in over the years, is a start to finish process. It is not uncommon, early on you need to know certain things. And the way that we've always mapped them out is that, these are the concerning parts during the preliminary phase. Then these are the other areas that you need to worry about during the SD, and then the DD, and then the CD. But even once you get to CA, things come up. Things happen in the field. Code officials during the review process. There's always going to be communication and research with the code. And I'm sure we're going to get to it, but there's also the ability with UpCodes of creating a project within the code. So it's isolated in there. And with that, you're able to flag certain sections you want your team and to share with your team right there within that interface. That we need to worry about this. You can add notes to it and comments to it. It's kind of like your one-stop shopping for codes, whether it be education, research, putting a code analysis together. And it suits itself very, very easily to move from one phase to the next to the next. It's not like you have to do it all at once. So it does flow very, very well.
Nice. You talked about kind of the code analysis and research phase. How has the code calculator come into play for you guys? Is that a tool that you utilize on your different projects?
We do. I've always used it up front since it's come out, early phase, but more and more features that have been added to it over the years have better suited it for an ongoing process. Including, the final for your documents. You can do an output in, I believe it's PDF and Excel format. Excel meaning, the beautiful part about that is you can literally take that document and customize it, and put it right on your sheets if you want, or put it in your spec, whatever location you pick. But the type of information that's coming out is probably the fastest that I've been able to do a preliminary code analysis just by inputting that data. And it's a huge help. I mean, it's not going to cover every single aspect. And I don't think that was ever the intent. I really think it was more of a tool to assist people in getting through the major areas of code concern, fire ratings and egress routes and those types of things, and plumbing counts, a lot of these things that take a lot of time and effort to assemble. It's going to, with a little bit of input, give you a lot of information very fast. And this is also something that I think has helped, getting back to our younger staff, that feature has also helped them begin to understand, where to look things. They can actually look to see how the calculations are put together and completed, after they've gone through the process, which also helps them, learn. And for the older staff, if they really aren't confident in it, they can go and they can double check.
Yeah, that's great. One last, I've heard it. One thing I've heard it described as a mentor, the code calculator. It's a mentor for the younger folks to walk them through this process. Question for you, and then I guess we'll go into some Q&A from the audience here. How would you think about ROI for something like UpCodes? It costs money to get this stuff. In terms of time saved, knowing more about the code, how do you kind of quantify that in your head?
Look, anything that costs money is a tough sell to a lot of firms, especially when you have times that are up and down. That things are good right now, but you never know what's going to happen in the future, and why do we want to spend extra money? But what I've found with UpCodes is it actually saves a lot of time. It saves us not a lot of not only a lot of time up front, but also a lot of time because we're more accurate. We have the latest codes directly in front of us. It's assisting us with getting through the code quicker, faster, more efficiently. Um, it's it's saving us money. Um, and like I said before, it doesn't it, it doesn't just also stop up front. So just saying that it's only a portion of the project and just thinking isolating that small time frame, codes constantly go on. I've been out on project sites or been meetings with clients where we're getting into something that I've really never dealt with, and I don't need to say any more to that client in a meeting or to the code official or the contractor or anyone. Let me go back to the office and look into that because I'm not sure. I can pull it right up on my laptop. I can pull it up on an iPad. I can even pull it up on my iPhone. If you couldn't tell, I'm an Apple guy, but it's it's right there. So you can get your answers very quickly. And again, that's time and money. I don't have to go back. I don't have to do the research. I was able to give a decision directly to the client or the GC or even a code official right then and there. So it saved us all. We were able to push on and get through that subject matter at that meeting, make our decisions, and it's a faster process. So, I mean, for me, it's something that uh, it's well worth its weight in gold. I'll put it to you that way. And it's something that everyone that is on the design team should have access to. So you guys are great because you're also you have this free version that's out there, right? And everybody has access. So if you're asking the question, why would I go into the paid app? Uh, Everything that I have stated over the last like 15 minutes, that's the reason you go in. You get the code calculator, you're going to have the searchability, you're going to have the diagrams, you can create a project, you can share with your teams. All of those things have helped immensely, especially once they're learned and used well. If you get in there, you see it, and you'll immediately understand it and see all the value. John, you can remind me how many years I've been using this from my previous contracts, but it's been a long time. And when I moved over here to Buckl, we were not using UpCodes. And it was one of the first things that I was like, waving my hand all around and sending emails out, check this out. And we brought it on right away. And it's been a huge help.
A quick follow-up question. You were just sort of touching on this. Does it take long to implement and start getting value from it? Some softwares have a 3-month rollout or something. How quickly has Buckl been able to start using it and seeing a return or value from it?
We had guys that started using it on the demo version for actual projects. So it was quick. They took to it very, very quickly. Even going through and making code calculations with the code calculator. And they were actually worried if we didn't buy in, how do they gain access? Or if we did buy in, since this was a demo, were they going to lose everything that they just did? It's very, very simple. The code calculator might be the one thing that takes a little bit of time to learn, just, navigating, but everything else is so intuitive, very simple to search, very easy to know where you have these diagrams and how to access and search them. Very simple to be notified and see visually that you have these updates for the code, or where you can click to get more information about, say, a definition or anything like that. It's very, very intuitive.
That's great. Excellent. Kevin, really appreciate your time and letting us pick your brain here and sharing what UpCodes has, how you've used it and what it's meant to you guys. And so again, we really appreciate you and all your time that you've given us.
I appreciate everything that you guys have given to us. This has always been a great package to work with, and over the years, I've been amazed at how far it's come. And it's my pleasure, absolutely my pleasure to be here.